How can we decide what your property is worth as a rental? Oftentimes, a lot of property management companies don't have an exact system, or a lot of landlords aren't 100% confident in how much to ask on their property. And more often than not, as much as nobody wants to admit it, they end up on Zestimate's rental calculator, which is severely inaccurate. Hey, I'm Noah with Century 21 Magnolia Property Management, and today we're going to be talking about how can you price a rental appropriately to ensure that you're pricing your property competitively and it's going to rent in a timely manner. Well, the first one is data. Anytime you're pricing anything, data is super important to a property's success. And we want to collect that data from everywhere we can. And oftentimes, rentals are managed on tens of different sites. So we might go to apartments.com and pull data for a marketplace, and then we would go to Zillow and pull data. And then there's about 5 or 6 others all the way down to Craigslist that are very popular rental sites where we might go in and just pull data to figure out, okay, what do comps in this neighborhood, this zip code, this area look like? Because if you're in an area similar to ours, 1 mile from each other does not necessarily mean they're going to grab the same rates, right? We could have a property that's worth $1.10 a square foot versus a property that's at 80 cents a square foot within just a few miles of each other. So you want to be strategic in how you pull that data and understand, are you pulling in an area that you're basically just doing the Zestimate thing where you draw a big circle around it and say this is the numbers because they all add together and average out to this? Or are you able to finite your data like we do and say, okay, this property is similar because it has a 3-2 with a flex space like mine, and it's rented for $1.07 a square foot, versus this space is missing that flex space, but it's a 3-2 and it's rented at $1.03 a square foot. So I feel like the $1.07 is more appropriate. So data is number one when it comes to pricing a property. Number two is condition. A lot of times, and we see this a lot more with sales, we do a lot of deep diving on quality of the property and comparison. Versus rentals, we just look and say, okay, that one looks good, and jump into it. Make sure you're understanding the quality of the rental that you're marketing, because in today's market, the tenants absolutely want a property that is turnkey, and they do emphasize the importance of a property not being dingy, dirty. That's actually something they can embody them or envision themselves living in, and they want that property to be a higher quality. So if you have a property and you're on the fence about the quality of it and figuring out how you want it to look, I recommend you absolutely take the time it takes to get that property to a higher level of quality, because you'll see that in your tenant. Your tenant will come back in a higher quality manner because they expect finer things. So ensuring you're comparing properties that are similar. Don't look at a property that's got granite and the works on a property, and then your property still has Formica, 10-year-old carpet, and smells like a dog has lived there. Those are not the same, so that's important too. And then the third and final one is read the market. Oftentimes we're wrong. Everybody's wrong. That's part of real estate, is we can never anticipate the future with 100% certainty. Look at the COVID years. We saw rents almost triple on some properties because they just were neglected for some years, renovated, and then all of a sudden you have this property that was rented for $500 in 2017, now renting for $1,500 because it's fixed up and ready to go, and the market appreciated so much. And then look at the last few years. We've started to see a little bit of compression on rentals as we see more and more debt in the market. Rental market is getting stronger, but that also means that there's more rentals available and leads to a little bit of compression on the prices, but it hadn't really dropped. It's just compressing. So you want to make sure you're strategically pricing, but when you see the market changing, change with it, right? If your property is sitting, don't lose 2, 3, 4 months rent. Adjust yourself. If you're not getting the showings you need to get it rented within a week or two, cut the price a little bit. Keep working it until you find those numbers, because the biggest neglect you might make when pricing a property is the opportunity to get a great tenant in there and appreciate the rent over time, right? Rent increases are a big part of our company and what we do for our clients, because we know your asset is better served occupied and better served attended to in the years 2, 3, 4, and down the road. If you have more questions about how to price a property, or if you're interested just to know what we would price your property at, reach out to us here at Century 21 Magnolia Property Management, and we'd love to give you a free analysis anytime.